Hi everybody, I'm Brian McAnulty.
I'm Catalina Butnaru.
And this is BrightLounge,
where we travel around the world and talk with creative people from different countries.
Designers, developers, architects, entrepreneurs, all kinds of creative people from the design and tech industry.
Today we're in Bucharest, Romania. We are here to talk with Bogdan Ripa. He is product manager at Adobe Systems and in charge of Business Catalyst, a platform that we have been using for a couple of years.
Yep, I'm really excited to talk with Bogdan today because we've actually been using Business Catalyst before it was even part of Adobe.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting to see where the whole product is going.
Yeah. We are at Pascucci Cafe. It's a very nice and elegant coffee shop in the center of the city. If you don't know as many things about Bucharest, here's some of them. You can find one of the largest buildings here. It's the House of People. And make sure you visit the center of the city because of the different influences in architecture and the style of the buildings. Bucharest has been called the Little Paris of Europe. So before we get into the main topic of today's episode, we should present ourselves.
Yep, I am the founder and art director of Velour Studios. It's a multimedia design and development studio based in Philadelphia. And we work on a lot of client projects, but also a lot of our own projects, which BrightLounge is one of those. And I'm a designer, musician, developer, and entrepreneur.
I'm Catalina Butnaru. I am in charge of marketing and interaction at Velour Studios. I have traveled a lot lately with BrightLounge and learned so many things about the world and different cultures. I love building creative experiences for clients through design and development, and I'm really excited about this podcast.
Cool. So today, our main topic is going to be workflows, and I think that it's really interesting to see and to hear how other people work. So we're going to talk about a couple of the different intricacies of our workflows. And I guess we can start off with research and communication.
Yeah, so what I can say about this before talking about specific apps that I'm using is that I really use spaces in a particular way. I usually go into my settings and make sure that certain apps open in certain spaces. So every space is dedicated to one activity I want to focus on. So the first space would be everything about email, communication, browsing, going on the internet. The second one would be related to research workflows. And for communication, I use Sparrow, and I integrate it with Text Expander. It saves me a lot of time. There's actually a report section in Text Expander that you can check. And see how
shows you how much time you save. Basically, you type a couple letters and you can have it expanded to a big email template.
Yeah, so that's cool. And of course, I use Skype, which is useful for international calls, local calls, and just keeping in touch with the people I work with and friends.
Cool. Yeah, I do same thing with Spaces on the Mac, where usually the way I work is I'll have some apps that are predefined to launch in certain spaces.
Yeah.
Going from like top to bottom. The top is like communication, email on the web browser. Then I have like to-do list on the next one, project management, and down from that I'll have some new stuff, Twitter, RSS, kind of like we do, and then I'll kind of spread across the other ones with some design and then development and as needed, fill that up. And my research process is nothing too crazy, but what I'll do is, since I always have so many tabs open in my web browser, so what I'll do is I'll make a new window for something I want to start researching, and then just open up a bunch of tabs in that window for something that I want to, like, it's definitely good and want to come back to later. I'll use Read It Later for that. And I use Evernote a lot, not so much the clipping feature, but just to take notes. And I use Little Snapper as well for certain kinds of design-related things that I'll want to save screenshots of to see progress of something.
Yeah. Another app that I can mention is MindNode for brainstorming and organizing the structure of an article, for example. It's really cool. It's Mostly for visual learners, visual thinkers. It's
Yeah.
for the left dominant hemisphere, so to say.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Yeah, I love using my node to kind of expand on ideas pretty quickly. And I think that it's, out of all the mind mapping tools I've tried, I think it's really the quickest and most natural to think with. And yeah, that's everything I use for research.
Yeah, so let's get into the interview and we'll come back and talk about our workflows related to design, development, and being productive.
Audible is offering a free audiobook download and a 14-day free trial to BrightLounge listeners.
This is a great opportunity for you to listen to popular books such as the Steve Jobs biography. I love listening to audiobooks while working, and I like that I can continue to listen to them when I go out on my iPhone or iPad.
There are over 100,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. So check out www.audibletrial.com/BrightLounge to choose your free audiobook today. So we're here with Bogdan Ripa. He's a director of product management at Adobe Systems in Romania and in charge of Business Catalyst. So Bogdan, you and Alexandru have been friends since forever and business partners. So how did you get started with development, and what is your story as entrepreneurs?
Yeah, so I guess we know each other since, like you said, since forever, since we were kids. And since we first touched a computer or seen a computer, and we are from the same small town here in Romania, and we started working together on computers quite a while ago, and then we came here to Bucharest, where we came to the university, and it so happened that both of us did the university in French, so we spent a lot of time in France doing a lot of internships. And around the year 2000, when the crisis started, the previous one, we didn't even actually knew what was happening to us, but we decided to start our own company. So I came back from France. I had about 2,000 euros put aside, francs back then, euros later, and we thought about creating a company. I had a few connections in France. He had a few friends. And then we started doing some outsourcing work for them. And it was all based on open source frameworks of Linux, Apache, PHP, MySQL, and PostgreSQL back then. I know it's still big these days. And we started working on those projects, and things were not doing, we were not doing very well at the beginning because of the crisis, but then it started ramping up. And one thing that we realized was that we didn't have enough development tools, right? And especially for the stack that we were using, and we liked products like Dreamweaver. We thought they were great, but things like PHP was not supported in Dreamweaver. So one of our first projects was to add PHP support in Dreamweaver, which was unseen, especially through the extensibility layer. So we had to hack our way, in the product using different techniques.
Yeah.
And we actually managed to create a Dreamweaver extension that we gave away for free, which enabled PHP support in Dreamweaver. And that's where, we as a company, we became very popular. We had hundreds of thousands of downloads of that particular extension, and that went really, really well. And, that's when we realized that if we actually want to scale our business, we have to give up thinking about outsourcing, which is very linear, and based on number of employees, how many employees you have, times hours, times how much you charge per hour. That's what you make. And then we thought about scaling up, and scaling up, we realized that we could only do that through products and selling products. And that's what we started to do. We started building commercial products, also mostly Dreamweaver extensions, and starting selling those. And actually, funny story, when we wanted to stop the whole outsourcing thing we were doing, we doubled the price. As we said, we're going to double the price per hour. That's what, nobody's going to come back to us. Yeah, it's going to stop. Guess what? More people came to us. They thought, they're expensive. They must be good. So we had to stop it altogether to be able to focus on the product aspect. Yeah. So we were going to a lot of conferences, and we were being friends with back then with folks from Macromedia, and visiting them and trying to have a relationship with them to make sure that we're right there where we have to be with our products. When Adobe acquired Macromedia, and once that happened, they approached us. They approached us and said, well, we want to open an office in Eastern Europe. We've heard a lot of things about you. Everybody in the San Francisco office talks about Interact. So, we want to acquire you. And then we said, okay, let's talk. And then we started talking. And at the end of 2006, the acquisition happened. And it was for me personally, it was a crazy week, because that same week, we got acquired on Thursday. I got married on Saturday.
Wow.
And I left in my honeymoon on Sunday. So you can imagine, the craziness,
So now today, you are product manager of Business Catalyst.
Yes.
What's the vision for Business Catalyst?
The vision that we have for Business Catalyst is that it is going to grow into this platform for creating beautiful online businesses, right? And in order to do that, we are in a pretty good shape right now, but we have to make sure that we're good from an infrastructure perspective. We have to make sure that we enable more creative freedom to our partners. So right now, if you want to build more complex applications, you're kind of limited to what we offer in our platform. We want to open that up to make sure that that partners can build more advanced sites and functionality. And we want to really, really focus on the value that we provide, both to our partners, but probably more importantly, to their customers, which are the business owners. Because if you look at our business model, at the end of the day, the business owners are the ones paying us, not the partners themselves. The partners are more a network of resellers, if you want, right? They resell our service to the business owners, but the business owners are the ones paying our bills. Yeah. So the vision is to really, build Business Catalyst as a scalable, robust, flexible platform, and to enable partners, the more advanced partners, to go as far as building plugins to our platform that they will be able to probably resell in a marketplace to other less advanced partners. And the partners, we're looking at two different personas. There's the web developers that are probably Dreamweaver users or code editors. They use Coda, they use something else if they know HTML quite well. So it's those guys, but it's also the graphical designers. Yeah. And I guess Adobe just launched a new product. It's in beta right now, Muse, where you can actually design a website more or less the same way you design a page in InDesign. Yeah. It's just that it's published as a website, on the Business Catalyst platform, of course.
Yeah. So you're focusing mainly on redesigning the UI for Business Catalyst.
We went back and forth quite a few times, as you guys as partners can, have witnessed. We started early this year. We were thinking that we will take module by module and really, redesign it on a completely new framework, completely new UI interaction and engineering framework. And we thought we could do that one by one. And what we realized is that if we were to do that, it would probably have taken us a couple of years. And not doing anything for 2 years, just stopping for the existing partners, and then boom, introducing a new product is just not acceptable. Not acceptable for our partners and our customers. So we thought about introducing it gradually. And what we did, right now we're in a mode that we call a hybrid mode, where we basically reskinned the interface. So we're actually going to launch that. It's already launched for partners, but we're going to launch it for everybody early next year. And we basically reskinned the interface, so we have a visual and interaction framework to base our development on. And we're going to start, developing and switching modules one by one as we
so kind of like implement a new version of a module and just be able to swap it.
Yeah. And speaking of, I know an interesting story about eBay. I think it was eBay changing their background color from yellow to white. It used to be yellow or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it was from white to yellow, but anyway. And they tried to do that all at once, and their customers, said, what are you guys doing? We want the old interface back. And then they decided to change the interface one shade of yellow at a time per day, and within 20-something days. So they did that, and nobody noticed. So what I'm trying to say is that we're basically taking a similar approach where we don't want to introduce a lot of change at once. We want to introduce that change gradually so people get used to that. And
yeah.
And how have you been working to incorporate new features in Business Catalyst to help web designers build more modern websites using the Liquid technology? And
yeah, so in terms of feature development and platform enhancements, what we do is we use a development methodology called Lean Startup methodology, where what we do is spend a lot of time meeting with customers. That's the number one thing, a lot of time meeting with customers. And we develop prototypes for new functionality that we want to add to the product. We meet with them, and those prototypes are basically throwaway code. So it's just plain old design, probably some HTML here and there. So we show it to them, and we ask them to build to achieve certain goals, certain tasks. And if they can do it, that's fine. If not, we have to go back to the drawing board. And also we have to make sure that they're willing to pay or continue paying for if they get that functionality. We have to make sure it's wow, right? And we did get that wow effect with a few things. One is the new UI. Another wow we got was with the new Liquid markup that we're introducing, where basically what we're doing is introducing a kind of a server-side programming language that's very, very basic, that allows you in a markup way. I shouldn't call it a programming language because it's not really programming, it's markup. But it allows you to apply all your creative freedom to the websites that you're building, so that you don't today have to do all kind of hacks and stuff to be able to achieve your goals. It is going to be much, much easier.
So you said that customers are basically paying for the product, therefore you need to keep them satisfied.
Yeah.
How did you incorporate the feedback from business owners?
From business owners, I guess we have three ways of looking at their feedback. One is just getting that feedback through our partners, because business owners do spend a lot of time talking to our partners, and a lot of the requests that we get from partners are actually requests that come directly from business owners, but they're just processing them. Yeah, that's one. It's not the biggest one, but it's one way of getting that feedback. Another one is the same way we meet with partners on a weekly basis, trying to test new ideas, new concepts on them. We basically do the same thing with the business owners. And yes, the feedback that we get from business owners is, of course, very, very different from what we get from partners. While partners want an easier way to write HTML or, implement some kind of a web app, the business owners are all about optimizing their workflows, enabling things that are not possible in the products, and those type of things.
Yeah. So how have you seen business owners' needs change in the past couple of years?
Well, they definitely changed. I mean, I'm in this business of helping web developers creating websites for business owners since about 10 years ago or more. And, while a few years ago it was all about, I'd like a web page with 5 pages. And
maybe a contact form, maybe not.
Not even.
Yeah.
It was just about, I just want that because I've heard it's the new thing. Right? Yeah. It went from that all the way to business owners actually browsing the web and understanding what's possible, right? So they understand what a contact form is and what lead generation means, and Google Ads. They see the ads there. They think, oh yeah, I could have something here to attract customers to my website. So they start thinking about marketing. They start thinking about conversions. They start thinking about email marketing. That's interesting. Or I'd like a Facebook page because I know everybody's on Facebook these days. So, they want that and somehow to be integrated with their site and to work. And then they will multi-screen because they take out their phone, they go to their website, they look at it and they see it's broken. not broken all the way, but it's not, you know, showing properly. So they go back to the designers and developers saying, hey, you know, what's happening?
What do you call this? Can you fix it?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so they're getting more and more sophisticated, definitely, and they learn, they understand the technology more these days, and it's easier from one side. It's easier to sell to them and to upsell them because it's so much. You know, you go to them and talk to them about, you know, hey, do you have a phone? Yeah. Is your website working on your phone? Not really. Hello, business catalyst.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not that complicated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So today you're managing around 6 teams of developers. What is your advice for managers dealing with really large teams? How do you keep everybody happy and productive?
Tough question. You know, when you grow from a small team, like what we used to be, to where we are today, things get very complicated. When you know, back in the days, we used to know everybody, not just by name, but everybody's friends, girlfriends, wives, children names, etc., where they lived, what their hobbies are. And we used to hang out a lot all the time. And we still do with some of the folks here, of course. But as we grow, these type of things get harder and harder. And as a team here in Adobe, especially Adobe Romania, what we try to do is spend as much time as possible together, having fun. So really bonding as a team. Right? Just a few months ago, we went to the seaside, all 250 people in the office, plus friends. So we're trying to keep that spirit together, keep that, you know, feeling like a family, even though it's getting harder and harder. And then from a development perspective, we're using Scrum as a methodology, right, like most software companies these days. So we're trying to keep those backlogs as healthy and as you know, well-shaped as possible, which is a challenge, I can tell you. But we're doing our best to do that. And we are splitting all of our 6 teams on different areas, either areas of the product, we've tried that, and right now we actually moved from that to personas, which means that we have a team or a couple of teams working on the web developer and web designer persona, trying to satisfy them. We have a couple of teams looking at the business owner persona, right? And then also different product managers assigned to those teams, so that, you know, they meet with those customers, get those requirements. So basically, you know, it's like a divide and conquer strategy. You just take the bigger problem, break it into smaller problems. When you sum it up, you have to make sure that it's bigger than the sum of its parts, and you just build from that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What other challenges did you have when growing from just a few people to so many?
What other things? Just keeping everybody focused on the same goals. That can be a challenge. You don't have the time to spend one-on-one time with everybody.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't see you for weeks. You know, it can get that bad.
Yeah.
And we're trying to overcome that as much as possible, being co-locating, being together, being, you know, just saying hi on a daily basis. Yeah. It's harder to get the message across when you have multiple layers of management, and, you know, they're doing a great job making sure that the whole vision and everything gets transmitted, but sometimes...
You also talked about getting the developers in front of the customers as well, right?
Yeah, I did. So when I was telling you that story, you know, somebody was telling me that if you have an employee that you really want to motivate, the best way to motivate not just employees but developers in general is to put them in front of customers, right? When they see that customer love coming, and when they see, you know, those people basically betting their businesses on the products, on the code that you write on a daily basis, you know, it definitely it blows them away, and that really helps. And we're trying to do that as much as we can. We're trying to put as many customers in front of, as many developers and quality engineers in front of customers. Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to next year?
Next year, well, I guess you all know by now, next year is going to be the Adobe Creative Cloud year. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a big change in Adobe strategy that we all love and embrace. I think it's one of the best things Adobe has done. And it is going to explode. right? It is going to explode, and that's going to have an impact on Business Catalyst, of course, because BC is going to be part of the Creative Cloud. So my biggest focus area right now is to make sure that we build the right integration, to make sure that what we're gonna give those Creative Cloud customers is gonna match their expectations, and thirdly, and probably the most important, is that we don't crash while doing that. So we have to make sure that from an infrastructure perspective we're ready, to make sure that we're, because we're gonna have a flood of customers coming in to check out our solution.
Yeah.
And that's going to be challenging. So that's the first half of the year, and I'm sure it's going to be, we're going to work on other stuff as we do that. And for the second half of the year, what I want to do is really, really focus on the value that we provide to partners and business owners, to make sure that it is again in line with their expectations, whether they're on a starter plan or a business or pro plan, whatever they do, we have to make sure that they find the right product, that it's well done, it's well documented, it's well supported, and yeah.
Right. So thank you for this interview. We're looking forward to see what's going to happen with Business Catalyst. Looking forward to see the entire redesign and our customers seeing that. Good luck with everything.
Yeah. Thank you.
And thanks again for the interview.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Back from the interview, we met part of the team during a product discovery session.
Yep.
And everybody seems very excited and has a lot of ideas. And we really discussed about the redesign and the future of Business Catalyst.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I think that it's going in a great direction, and it was really cool to meet some of the people there at Adobe.
Yeah, everybody's really talented.
Yeah. And now let's get back into our main topic, workflows, and let's talk about a little bit about how we design.
Cool. So obviously everybody in design would definitely use Photoshop or the Creative Collection from Adobe. And what I use with Photoshop is Color Schemer. I really like to use the different schemes in Color Schemer and create schemes from photographs that I import in the app.
Yeah.
And even go to the gallery section where other users have already
made
uploaded
palettes.
different color schemes and palettes, and it's really inspiring. I really like using it.
Yeah, I really like Color Schemer too. And some things about my workflow that are a little bit different is I usually like to design on a Cintiq, Wacom Cintiq, and what I'll do is I'll have all the express keys set up for shortcut buttons, so I don't have to really use the keyboard. And then what I like to do is to rotate the screen around. And if you're using a regular laptop, Photoshop, the newer Photoshop has rotate canvas option. And look at the design upside down, and even flip the canvas horizontally. And it can really help, I think, sometimes, especially when you're working on some kind of curves or something in a logo design. When you're looking at it one way for a while and then you flip it, you can see things that you didn't really see before. And that's something really useful for me.
Yeah.
And also, I guess, one of the things I like to do for web design is export JPEG or just save a different version, I guess, after every substantial design change. And it's something that, even though the files are in version control anyway, I'm just doing it to be able to look at it after that change and then compare, I guess, the two changes at the end of the day in something like Kaleidoscope. And I think that it can really help because you may be unsure about making such a big change, like completely changing the sidebar all of a sudden or something like that. But it can be really useful to make that change and then compare later, because I think that it really keeps the design moving along, because usually you'll decide to continue with that change. That's usually what happens for me. But if I wouldn't work that way, I might be sitting there a little bit longer. Should I really change this or not? So it just helps everything move along faster, I think.
That reminds me of Xscope and Ruler. So what you can do with that, you can measure either specific UI elements, either from your own design or just go into other interfaces and figure out what's the right distance.
Yeah,
so that's something that is very precise for me. And
an auto measurement where it'll, based on the contrast on the screen, it tells the distance between two items or how wide an item is or an object. And so it's useful to get an idea quick. Is this balanced? Is that balanced?
Yeah.
And one of the other things I'll do on using a Cintiq is I like to actually use just my fingers to measure quick and like the width between something or even a ruler. And I use Xscope as well for like when I have to be really precise about something. But just to get an overall feel of it, I like to do that.
Yeah.
And I guess that's some of the main stuff we use for design. So next, development, I guess.
What I like to use for development is Espresso, and that's because of two main features. The first one is the X-ray feature, which allows me to select specific elements and detect the code associated to that element. It's really easy to do that in Espresso rather than using the extension in Chrome.
Yeah, so kind of like what Firebug does, except it really quickly lets you see the class that's associated or ID associated with that element.
Yeah, and another thing that I like is that I can customize the theme in Espresso for syntax highlighting. And so I have my own code with colors associated to specific parts of the code, and it's really easy to detect what I need in the code,
Yeah, I use Espresso as well and TextMate, I guess, for more back-end development. And a couple of things I like is I really like using Cornerstone and Tower for Subversion and then for Git.
Yeah.
And I think they have really nice interfaces. It really makes it a lot easier, even if you know how to use those tools through command line. It makes it a lot easier to use it, and I really prefer that way. And another thing I do is really use Text Expander a lot for code snippets. But I also use it for some abbreviations in the code, which can really, I guess, augment like whatever app you're using's code completion. So, for instance, the code completion might say, okay, border as you start to type it and fill it in for you. But what you can do with TextMate is then have an actual default setup. So it actually can, when you type border, it fills in the shorthand properties, or really useful for things that have vendor prefixes. So doing a box shadow and then it puts it on for WebKit, Mozilla, Opera.
Yeah.
And now talk about productivity.
Yeah. For productivity, I guess most of people would use to-do lists. My favorite one is hit list. What I like about it is that I can have subtasks for any line that I add. I feel like it's easier for me and faster to just open the to-do list and have different tabs open for different projects or lists, and prioritize and just organize it in that way.
Yeah, I think that's really important with anyone who's using a to-do list app to choose what fits your style the best. And you don't have to fit a specific kind of workflow. I like using, for the most part, the getting things done workflow, but in order to really use the to-do list the way you would want to, it has to fit the way you want to work. So I agree with that. And some other things we use, Alfred to find applications, find files, even as a calculator.
And rescue time for figuring out how much time you spend on different activities.
Yeah, even if you're someone who's really productive and is working a real lot, it can be useful to see, like, if you're working on the things you want to be working on as much as you want. Like if you're too busy with emails or if you're getting enough development done.
Yeah.
And so that's it for this episode. You can check us out at BrightLounge.tv and subscribe to us on iTunes, Miro, YouTube, Vimeo.
Don't forget to send an email to hey@brightlounge.tv for suggestions. If you want to see us in a different country, or if you have a suggestion who we should interview next.
Yeah, something you want to hear about, someone you want us to talk to.
Yeah.
So, until next time, see you guys.
Okay, bye.